Yeah, so here in the Gelderse Poort, rewilding really serves a lot of public goals. We create a complete new ecotourism economy, diversify income of farmers. Instead of expensive raising of dikes, we lowered the floodplains here, which was much cheaper because actually the clay industry is paying for the transition of farmland towards nature. And in theory, it should work, but we already had our stress test in 2021 with the highest flood ever in this case in the Meuse area, and the whole rewilding project was a fantastic example of how it works. So actually, it really seemed to be a good solution for our flood problems.
I feel like rewilding, it's been seen as a strategy or a solution for like environmental challenges, but it's also an important and a powerful tool. And from what you are saying, it can be seen to address like also economic challenges and also social challenges. Probably the way to do so through rewilding, through our rewilding approach is exactly like sitting all the stakeholders in the same table and try to dialogue and reach to the common points.
Yeah, I think that's actually the dimension rewilding added to traditional conservation and ecological restoration, that
Exactly.
we really try to build bridges to other economic sectors and social sectors, and to show that while the nature could be again in the heart of our society as one of the ways to deal with our modern issues. And that's I think that's how you make progress, not by making deals with your friends, but actually with making deals with people on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
They're as much economic as environmental, and identifying the link between the two is an important part of our role in promoting strategy for conservation in the future. So obviously the environmental challenges, particularly that wildE's hydrological project here can help solve, have huge costs for business as a whole, for the economy, and ways in which those can help generate funding to support protection and restoration. And we were talking about carbon credits, for example, and the need to explore opportunities for the private sector to purchase those on a large scale, not in order to avoid pollution, but in order to help reduce it. Massive opportunity also for biodiversity credits.
No, I think that's really a key point. Where also partly the wildE project is taking action to investigate how this can be done, to develop systems where we can really reliably monitor gains in terms of carbon, gains in terms of biodiversity. Unfortunately, we have had lots of debate and very bad examples where carbon credits were sold all too easily, which has really created big problems for the system as a whole right now and for its justification. And this is certainly one role, I think, where science can help to develop systems that can really, recover credibility and develop standards, how this can be done really in a way that that can be really reconstructed, let's say, where it's really completely credible, where we have quality standards.
Strange enough, people pay for planting trees, which in my opinion is very often a waste of money, while paying for land where trees come spontaneously is not happening at the moment. Very strange.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's also a very general problem, I think, that we are so used to paying for some action. Does it make sense or not? And what is really not well seen, I think even among normal citizens, but much more even in administration, governance, this is paying for doing nothing. However, this is something that could help a lot.
And I think we also need to see conservation as a way of steward the territory and the land, a way of managing the land.
I would like to argue with that maybe it's better to tax unsustainable practices. We know what unsustainable practices are. We have alternative socio-economic models to make them more sustainable, yet we see that the incentives from the government with traditional subsidies, harness the subsidies, keep these unsustainable systems in place. Yes. So instead of paying for the polluter to stop polluting, I would argue let's tax in a fair way those practices that are not sustainable, and that will also generate a mechanism to come where we want to get in the end.
For the moment, we have, in my understanding, not been speaking a lot about what would be the ideal solution, where more nature can also bring with it more benefit for the society, even economic benefits. It certainly does not happen in any situation, in any context, but there are opportunities, and this is demonstrated here, where we can bring both things together.
Well, here in the Gelderse Poort, it was all about involving local people in our project. So listen to them, to their wishes, their needs, and look where Rewilding could add or be part of the solution of those problems. Of course, in the beginning, it was quite, there was some tension in the air because we lost about 30 jobs in agriculture here in the floodplains when Rewilding. It was, of course, paid the whole thing with the clay mining industry and so on, and flood management, but we lost actually 30 jobs in farming, but we got already 10 times more jobs back in ecotourism. And also for the farmers, they can now diversify their income with setting up a bed and breakfast, selling regional products, glamping sites. So also farmers are now less depending on just one source of income and are having benefits from Rewilding as well.
That's also how it works a lot in rewilding landscapes that are managed by Rewilding Europe. So there are 10 of them in different places in Europe, and the first thing that happens is that the teams that are employed in these local entities, they are people that are local. And then we also try to promote nature-based economies and different types of businesses also oriented around nature. For example, in Portugal, in the Greater Coa Valley, we created the team there, started a network of enterprises that are similar minded around sustainable practices and the environment, and they created the wildCoa network. It's really, really successful. That's a very, very direct benefit for local entrepreneurs that Rewilding Europe can support, is that we provide loans for entrepreneurs that want to start a business around nature, be it ecotourism or starting a communication business or anything related to nature, and this influx of money that they need at the end that the banks will not necessarily give them, Rewilding Europe offers to give it to them.
And our experience after first practical meetings and the involvement of working with the stakeholders prove that their reaction varies from country to country, from village to village, from persons to person. They need the time to digest the proposal, what they start to learn suddenly, drinking the beer or hearing from the partners, maybe even meeting the person from protected area. What is going to happen in this area?
I completely agree. So this time of digestion, that's really the thing. So this project took us about 25 years to get everybody on board, actually. So that's the time. So in another area, we tried to do it in 6-7 years. It was simply too fast.
It has to be their decision, not my or our decision. And then maybe at the end of the day, they will be disappointed and they pack and move somewhere else. That's also a story what can happen. There are not always only positive examples that people start to make the business and more happy life, etc., etc. So we have to see the more complex picture and different stories of the individual persons who are somehow involved in the process of rewilding.
So I think like we need to start from being more empathetic as well, and try to understand what it means for someone that has living in a region that for the last few decades it's empty now. So they must. It's not only the land abandoned, but sometimes they must have the feeling of abandonment itself. No, less transport, less services, less whatever. So it goes beyond our own purposes.
Well, in my opinion, it's not passive rewilding, it's just land abandonment. With the farmers, with the shepherds that left the area, also their livestock left. And that's, land abandonment creates just an encroachment of shrubs and trees in areas that were previously very attractive mosaic landscapes because of the shepherds and the farmers. And rewilding comes in, and that's what we found, that if we can replace the not existing livestock anymore by feral herds that could do the job 24/7 and create those open landscapes, make attractive landscapes, attract people from elsewhere to come to these places, create new jobs again. That's the rewilding part.
You know, from our point of view, we have a little bit different philosophical approach on this. But I think at the beginning, I would like to say that Europe still have enough room, enough space for both approaches. Because one approach, what you describe, can be relevant for specific area, but other approach is relevant for somewhere else. From our point of view, the spontaneous rewilding means that if today shepherds move out from the alpine meadows, taking cows and sheep out, day after something starts to change. Spontaneous recovery coming, shrubs, maybe other species of the grass. This can take for decades. We basically create etalons, examples, model islands maybe in the country, which can serve as a good research area for learning, collecting experience in comparison with the area what you try to manage.
Agree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's a maybe value for the future.
And there's space enough in Europe for these kind of, because we are just starting.
I think there's an estimated 15 million hectares of land that are at risk of being abandoned because of rural depopulation, so marginal agricultural land. And I think it's predicted that effectively 5 million hectares of these lands will be abandoned by 2030. And I think that's truly an opportunity, because what do we do with this land here? And rewilding, I think, has a role to play there. And another type of land use that we're looking at is also protected areas. There's actually 100 million hectares of protected areas just in the EU member states.
I fully agree. Rewilding is actually ongoing process already for years in my country on abandoned land, and it is going to continue, we want it or not. And one more aspect, if I am talking about these protected areas, is wilderness, because linking wilderness with this rewilding process can completely fit to the long-term objective. To identify 10% of the Europe which should be area with a non-intervention. That means no active management of the nature resources.
From my work, what we actually do is to try to apply all these rewilding ideas to other ecosystems where other land uses are being developed. Only in Spain, I believe almost half of the territory, it has a kind of agricultural use. So try and learning how to manage these lands in a wilder way. It's really important, and it can have a really strong benefit for biodiversity, for wild biodiversity. We try to establish at least a 20 or 30% of natural habitat in a landscape scale where other land uses can coexist. So this means reaching a meeting point with other property owners.
I would say we definitely need also sparing, because if everything is shared, nature often ends as a sort of lower priority, and many other things are going above it. So therefore, I think sparing is needed to put nature first as a main target. I think rewilding will give a major impulse to rethink systems that we are used to also, because there's many things we could do differently and more sustainable, but it hasn't been really needed so far. So I think rewilding puts that pulse to start thinking in that way.